This is gonna be awkward for a while until I stop feeling awkward. So. I just wanted to film a new introduction. When I filmed the video yesterday, I didn't know if it was going to be like a very long video or if I was going to try to split it up into a couple different videos, but it just doesn't really make sense. So it's going to be like 40 minutes, I'm sorry, but pretty much what it is that like the first like 20 minutes are kind of like a story time about everything that happened like leading up to, like from me applying and kind of how I applied, so I do go into that. And then like the whole process of like hearing back and like the interviews and all that stuff beforehand, and then it goes into like everything about me getting to the actual studio. And then from there, the next 20 minutes are like from green room on, and that's more like backstage stuff and behind the scenes stuff that you don't see. So I don't know what you guys are looking for, but there's something for everybody. Before we get into this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram and turn on the bell notifications so that you get notified whenever I post, because I have a feeling that there will be questions of your guys' that are still unanswered, and you may or may not see them in a future video if you guys want. So I'm sorry that this video is long. I'm sorry if it's not what you want. If you guys want to find out what happened behind the scenes of the episode and any kind of updates that I can give you, make sure you stay tuned to the end. So if you're watching this, you've probably either seen Carter's video or 17 Magazine's video about the Bestie Picks Bae episode, or Carter's vlog about being on it. So the episode just aired on January 2nd, but the actual episode itself aired on, I think, December 5th. So that's when we actually did the full filming, and we knew that the episode wasn't going to come out until January because they pre-film episodes. So they had like 10 episodes that they still had to release until they were going to get to ours or something like that. So it released in January, filmed in December, but I actually applied for the show, I want to say back around Halloween, probably even a little bit before that. So when I actually applied because I was on Facebook and I saw an ad for the application for the show. So when I did the application, it asked a bunch of questions like what you were doing right now, where you were living, what you were doing for work, what your like hobbies were, any interesting facts about you that they might want to know that might kind of make you stand out in an episode if you were on it. And then they also asked you like what celebrity personality you're most like. Hello! So we were just kind of joking around with the whole application and like the things that I put. I was always like, oh, that'd be cool like if I did end up getting picked, but I didn't actually think that like of all the people that probably were putting in submissions that they were going to see mine or pick mine. So I figured I'd apply, didn't really think I'd hear back. That was in early October, and then I heard nothing. So October goes by, like Halloween goes by, most of November goes by, and then it's Thanksgiving week, and the night before Thanksgiving I ended up breaking my phone. So I was just completely off grid for like a week. And then on December 2nd, I finally switched to like an old iPhone that I had. So I activate my phone, and all of a sudden I get this text from this random number, and it's from the Casting Depot, which is who 17 Magazine uses to do all their casting for their videos. So I get a text from them being like, hey, we'd love to schedule an interview with you for an episode that we're shooting this Thursday. So click this link and you can pick an interview time and a day to do your video chat interview. So I was like, oh. So in the text, it like specifically said like the episode's gonna be filmed this Thursday in New York City with a famous YouTuber. So that was Monday. And then I picked an interview for Tuesday afternoon. And then Tuesday morning, I was kind of like backtracking on it, and I was like, ugh, like what if this isn't something that like I want, like it's like my digital footprint, maybe I shouldn't do the interview, like I don't know, like if this is like what I want to do. And I was actually talking to my ex about it, and he was like, well, you should at least do the interview because then it's your decision to not do it, and it's your decision to not go through with being on the episode if they pick you. So he kind of talked me into doing it. So on Tuesday I did my interview. I met with, I'm assuming, one of their producers or one of their production assistants. I'm not really positive. She was like, okay, like this is gonna be really brief. Basically all she asked me, things like that were kind of in like the original application, so like where I lived, what I'm doing for work, besides something in entertainment, what would be like your dream job if you could pick one. And the last thing that she asked me was why my last relationship ended and why I was single. For that question, like I said, like I had literally just been talking to like my ex that morning, like we were on good terms, like we're always gonna be on good terms, no big deal, like we're still friends. And she's like, okay.
You just bore me.
And I was like, all right, and another boring answer.
You just don't excite me.
Or like, ooh, like looks like I'm not getting picked. And when I say this interview was so quick, all of this conversation probably happened in like a matter of like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. Right before she ended the interview, she was like, okay, so if you get picked, like you'll hear from us either tonight or tomorrow. And then she's like, okay, well, great, thanks, bye. Like, and I was like, okay, thanks, bye, see ya. And so I like ended that interview and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not getting picked. Like, and then that night went by, I didn't hear anything. Wednesday went by, I didn't hear anything. And that week, I was actually pet sitting for somebody like an hour and a half away from my house.
Hi guys, it's the garbage can version of me editing. This part of the story is really long. Basically, the summary is that I was pet sitting. I didn't bring a change of clothes, so all I had was my pajamas. Fast forward to Thursday morning.
I think I woke up at like 10:30, like 10:30, and I have a text from the casting depot being like, hey, if you're like able to get to the studio by 4 p.m. today in New York, like we'd love to have you on the episode. So I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, so we're leaving. So I like ran downstairs, like brushed my teeth really quickly, like shoved all my makeup in a bag, and I was like, whatever, like I'm just gonna figure this out.
Okay, so this next part of the story, basically I drive to the train station really fast and I'm trying to beat the clock because I only have like a 5-minute gap from how long it's supposed to take me to when my train's supposed to leave, and I'm sprinting and they're calling last call on the train.
I'm here and I'm kind of gonna throw up, but I just have to sit down and we're gonna make it to New York and it's all gonna be okay.
Okay, so basically I talked for like 40 minutes about how I didn't have a hair straightener and my hair looked all stoopy, and I ran out of the Grand Central Station to a Dwayne Reed, bought a hair curler, and then ran back in. There was no outlets in the bathroom, so she couldn't do her hair, and she still didn't have an outfit. So then she ran to an Urban Outfitters with her hair looking all silly. Now we're caught up.
And I'm literally just grabbing anything that I see, like that I'm like, maybe, like maybe this. And then I see this orange jumpsuit. And because I had seen the jumpsuit before, I was like, all right, like this stands out the most to me. Like I'm just gonna try this on and see if it works because this is easy. And like, so I tried on like first thing, I'm like, yep, this works. And so then I like take it all off and I run out. And so like as I'm leaving the dressing room, I was like, okay, I need shoes. Like I can't wear my Birkenstocks. So there was like a big display of Doc Martens like right next to the changing room. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna grab like a pair of these. Like, all right, like I'm like a 6.5, that's fine. So I see a box of Docs that have like a 6.5 on the outside. So I'm like, perfect, like I'm just gonna grab these and I'm not even gonna like worry about it, like I'm just gonna go. And I run back downstairs and I go to check out and there's a massive line that wraps like through this Urban. And I was like, there's no way that I'm ever gonna be able to stand in this line and make it to the shoot. I was like, this is where it all goes downhill. I was like, this is like the end. Like, I'm not doing this. And then all of a sudden, this person who's like checking people out, she goes, okay, like anyone using a credit card can come in this line. And I look and I was like, I'm gonna use a credit card. And I was like, and nobody else starts moving. And I was like, I don't wanna like cut all these people if they have credit cards, but nobody moved. And I was like, well, like, gotta take my chance, sorry. And so I like sprint up and I'm like, hi. And I start checking out. And I was like, am I allowed to just go back up to the changing room and put this all on? She was like, yeah, just bring your receipt. I was like, okay, perfect. So I like pay for everything, grab the outfit, run back upstairs, go to the changing room. And then and throw on the outfit. And as the girl was taking the Docs out of the box, like downstairs, when she pulled them out, I was like, those look very suspiciously big. And I was like, I have little minuscule baby feet, but I don't have the time to worry about it. And I was like, well, they said they're 6.5. Maybe they'll fit when I put them on and they just look really big.
They didn't fit.
So I pop my head out and I'm like, hi, like I just bought these Docs, like if they're way too big, can I just like swap them out right here, like at the little stand for a different size, or do I have to go and return them and then like re-buy them. And then the girl was like, yeah, you're gonna have to go return them. So I was like, never mind, not worth it. We're just gonna keep these. Anybody that's ever bought Docs like knows, I didn't know this beforehand because I'd never bought them,
She was about to find out.
that Docs are the worst shoes to try to break in ever. So they're like slicing at my ankles. I finally get to the station and run to the platform, and I'm waiting for my train, and it's like gonna be another like 7 minutes. And I look down at my ankles, and there's just these huge gashes, like bleeding out on both ankles. This happened on December 5th. It's January 5th. It's been a full month. And this, I don't even know how to like show this. This is like still my ankle. Like on both ankles, there's like these huge gashes just all around, like the front and back, because of these shoes. And so I'm looking and I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. I'm like, well, we just gotta keep going. And I'm like, I did all of this and I'm gonna be late and I'm gonna show up with my bleeding ankles and they're gonna say, sorry, you're too late, you can't be on the episode, we're already filming. And I'm gonna cry my eyes out and go home and go, what the fuck? And that's what's gonna happen. So I'm like so antsy on the train and I'm waiting to get there and I'm like, I just need like this freaking train to go. Finally I get to Columbus Circle and at this point it's like 4:20. Like I was already past when like my late arrival was gonna be. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, and I don't even know where this freaking building is. And like I said, I'm really directionally challenged. So I was like, I have like, and it's dark and I'm blind and I never wear my glasses and I lost my glasses and I don't wear contacts and I just live my life going, and I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going. So I just like stopped this girl who's jogging and I was like, maybe she'll know because she's running. So maybe she like runs around here enough. So I'm like, do you know like where this address is? And she points me down this street. So I like literally just start like running and I'm just like so flustered and like nervous. And I see the building number and I'm like, okay, thank God. And like all that I'm focused on is not getting sent away. Like I'm like, I just need to get upstairs and I need them to tell me that I can still be on the episode. Because if I did all this and they say, see ya, my soul's gonna combust. And as I'm running up to the door, there's like these two guys outside and I just didn't put it, like I knew that the episode was filming with a YouTuber, but I just like didn't put it together and like didn't really stop to look at them. And they were like, whoa, like we're in New York.
We are in New York City and it is absolutely freezing out here. I gotta say, it's so cold.
I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, why are they vlogging outside this building? Like, what are they doing? Like, what's important about this building? And so I just start running in. I was like, whatever, like, who knows what those kids are doing? And there's a third guy in the lobby. And I'm like, kind of like, hey. And then I turn to the security guard. I'm like, hi, I'm here for like the Bestie Picks Bae shoot. And I give him my ID. And then the guy behind me is like, oh, hey, you're here for that too. And I was like, yeah, like, nice to meet you. I was like, I'm like one of the, and he goes, oh, you're one of the baes. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, are you guys like the people? And he was like, yeah, we're not supposed to see you. And I was like, whoop, pretend like this never happened. And I like grabbed my pass from the security guard. And I'm like, nice to meet ya, bye. I was like, maybe that was his friend, but maybe that was a YouTuber. And like I said, like I didn't look at the people that were outside. I sprint up the elevator and as soon as I get there, there's somebody like who comes over and greets me and they were like, hey, like, are you here for this? And I was like, yes, it's all fine. It all worked out. They're bringing me to the green room. I made it. I'm gonna do this. Like, it's all good. I'm just gonna pretend like I didn't meet anybody downstairs because if that's why I get kicked out of here, like, and I was like, and maybe that's the YouTuber, but I was like, I've never seen that man before in my life. And I was like, so I have no idea who he is if he's the YouTuber. They bring me to the green room and I'm just like out of breath and like flustered. And one of the production assistants or producers, I'm not really sure exactly what her official role was. She was like, yeah, here's like your waiver. Like we just need like your release forms and then like take this sheet of paper and write down like 5 interesting facts about you. And so I like grab everything off the table and I turn and there's all the rest of the girls like sitting in like a circle of chairs. And I'm like, hi. And everyone just kind of looks and I was like, okay, great. And I'm like, yep, I'm just gonna sit down. And the way that the chairs were that it was all the chairs and all the girls, and then there was like one of those big like studio actor like chairs, like the canvas ones, and then there was one more folding chair. And so it was all of them, that empty chair, and then a chair that I sat in. And I was like, great. I'm separate and I'm late. And like I probably look super flustered and super like all over the place. And they all already know each other. They've already had time to like talk and bond. So I start like trying to write down facts, and I was like, I don't have anything interesting about me. Like I can't think of anything interesting. And I was like, and all these girls probably have all these like really interesting like facts about them, and then they're gonna get to me and I'm just gonna say something dumb. What have I ever done that's interesting? Like I was like, what? Like that I was shook in Jimmy Fallon's hand? Nobody else is gonna care about that, and that's not something cool I did. I just went to a taping of his show and he went, hey, and I went, hey, and held on a little bit too long. I was like, that's not really interesting. That just looks weird on my part. I was like, why am I acting like I don't like tell people like embarrassing, stupid stories about myself like all the time? So I was like, I don't know, like I'll just like write down some of those. So I was like, oh, like I can make a whipped cream can noise with my teeth. I once ate like 5 live earthworms like to win a contest at Six Flags, and I peed my pants in the 5th grade because I couldn't read the analog clock like fast enough. And so I was like, okay. One time I like tried to prank call somebody and went like,
hey, like the police called to tell me to tell you that you're arrested.
and then they were like,
This is the police.
and then I went, "Loop." Goodbye. And then they called my grandma and I got in big trouble. And I was like, okay, like I've got like some stupid like funny stories. Like they're not like interesting facts, but I was like, whatever, like maybe they're funny enough. So we're all getting mic'd up, and as you get mic'd up, like people are going around and we're going in the circle and just telling our facts, because the producer just wanted to make sure that like they were interesting and that they were gonna kind of bode well for the video. And she's making sure that like the energy of them's right. And so I'm last in the circle. The first one I gave was like the whipped cream one. And for me, it felt like the minute that I did that, the ice broke. We all start talking and we were all like, okay, like when like the filming's done, like does everyone want to like stay and wait in the green room? And then we'll go and get like drinks or something afterwards. So we got all mic'd up and it was time for us to go out there. And right before we were all supposed to go out there, they were like, does anybody need to take a last bathroom break? So a bunch of us were like, yeah, let's just go. And like, even if we're just gonna look in the mirror and like make sure we look fine, we'll do that. And when I'm back there, I was like, my ankles really hurt and they're bleeding, and I don't want them to bleed onto like my jumpsuit, and I don't want like my boots to keep like rubbing against my ankles. So I was like, oh, I'll take like paper towels and I'll wrap them. So I just took like 2 paper towels and like folded them and like slipped them in my boot. And I was like, perfect, like they're in my shoe, like not really rubbing against my ankle anymore, like great, like now I can just focus on the show. And then my nightmare happened and I didn't realize that it happened.
So in the moment, I guess I just forgot what I was going to talk about. But what I was going to say was that when I was practicing the walkout, the paper towels fell out of my boot and said, see ya. And then midway through the filming, one of the producers goes, what's that white thing on the floor? And somebody else goes, a napkin? How did this get here? And I went, oh no, I know how that got there.
They like had us practice our lineup and like figured out where everybody was gonna stand. And whenever I would watch the show, we would always say how like the first girl, it sucks to be her because she has to come up with the first answer and like she has to come up with it quick and like it's kind of hard to think on the spot. But then the last like 5 girls or so, like you don't want to be them either, because on certain questions, like there's only so many unique answers you can give. And by that point, like you're just going to sound really redundant. And so that kind of screws you over. Like both ends will kind of screw you. So you kind of want to be like 3rd or 4th, like that's like the sweet spot. So when we first practiced our lineup, I was like, perfect, I'll stand like right here. And I think at that point for the front row, it was like Christine in the front row, then me, and in the back row it was like Maddie and then Ariel. So by like the order of how we were going to answer, I would have been 4th. And then they were like, stripes and orange jumpsuit, like switch spots. And I was like, oh no. I was like, okay, I'm going to be 2nd. I was like, that's fine. It's whatever. Like as long as Maddie stays in the game, like I'm 2nd, that's okay.
She didn't stay in the game.
Good.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Like I'll have a second to think.
Nope.
And so we practice our lineup, and then they shuffle us into this like picture like those foam poster boards, like big foam poster boards that they had just like made into like a weird makeshift box. And they were like, okay, get inside there, and just like shoved everybody in there. And they're like, you have to stay quiet, you have to stay in there because we need to bring out the besties, and like they can't see any of you guys. This whole time I was just like, I don't know like who these people are gonna be. Like I was thinking that it was the guy that I met in the lot, and I was like, maybe it's him. I just don't know like who it's gonna be. And in the back room, like everybody had kind of been like, oh, like I wonder like who it's gonna be, and like I wonder if it'll be like this person or that. Like I was trying to think of people, and I was just like going with it, and I was like, yeah, like maybe it'll be like the Dolan twins. Like I was like, who knows? Like they're single, huh? Like that's crazy, maybe.
She knew it wasn't going to be the Dolan twins.
And then they're like, all right, like now the girls are gonna walk out. So like we start walking out, and then like I see him, and I'm like, ooh. So I turned to Sabrina, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he's cute. So I was like, all right, well, I'm into it. Like, I don't know what everybody else is thinking, but like, I'm good with this guy. I was like, I still don't know who he is, but I'm all right with it. Like, he looks cute. Like, I'm here to play. I'm here to win. And then we do the whole episode. When I say that the girls were like the sweetest, nicest girls, like they actually were. Whenever like we'd have like a pause or like a break, or after the filming was actually over, they'd be like,
your answers are so good. Like, what the hell? Like, they're so hard to follow up, and like, we knew you were gonna win.
Ariel's mom was like,
are you the girl that was sitting in this seat? She was like, they all came back here and were like, that girl, the girl that was sitting there, like, she's the one who was gonna win.
and like saying like how thought out like my answers felt, like how like well like I was like answering everything. And my friends were saying like similar things, and they were like, yeah, we thought you had the questions beforehand because you just seemed like you always knew what to say. But that's like
not at all how it happens.
At least in our episode, what they did was I think they came up with like maybe 20 questions or something that they could ask, and they just had like a list of questions that he could pick from, and they like hadn't definitely settled on like any of them, but had like an idea. And then what would happen is that the producer Rachel would come up to Stove and be like, okay, like which one of these like do you think you want to do? Like just pick whichever question you want. Like maybe this one, like maybe this would be a good one. And she had all of our like interesting facts, so like she knew like maybe there'd be like a good question that like this girl will have like a funny answer for or whatever. So she was like, you know, this one might be like good, or you could do this one. And then he'd pick whichever one he'd want to do. He wouldn't like read it out loud, so we didn't have like any time like knowing the question. So they had like a bunch of different cameras, but there was one camera that would do like all the close-ups on all the girls. So like how like they did our introductions, like it'd be like, okay, like we're setting up for Maddie, and now we're setting up for Maggie, and then we're gonna set up for Ariel, and now for Christine, and whatever. And then there'd be like a small break in between each girl so they could like refocus the camera. But that's like the only kind of time you have. So they would get the camera ready and like point it at Maddie, and then they'd be like, okay, Stove, like read the question, and they'd be ready like to give her like they'd have it focus on her, and they'd be like, okay, read the question, and then Stove would ask the question, and then they'd be like, okay, now go, give us your answer. And then that's the only time that you have to think. And so for that first question, which of all the first questions,
That was the worst.
like the one like maybe that one that they asked for like in Curtis and Dean's, but they were like roast me, like that one was terrible, and like I would have hated doing that one. But the pickup line one, when he said it, it was like a little bit of my soul died. And I was like, oh no. I was like, I'm gonna be out on question number 1, baby. Like this is not gonna work out for me.
Next question. See ya.
Like somebody did, like, are you from Tennessee? Because you're the only 10 I see. Like that one wasn't even in my head. Like I was like, I don't know a single pickup line. I was like, I can't think of anything. And I have no idea what to say. And I'm so sorry for Maddie because she had to answer it so fast. But her not being able to think of one was the only reason that I had any kind of second to think of one. So she was like, I don't really use them. Like, I don't know, like I can't think of any, like, can you guys skip me and come back? And they were like, no, we can't skip you. Like, we have to like do it in order. Because that is part of like the game, is that you are supposed to like have to think of an answer like right away and just kind of think on your feet. And it's supposed to be like genuine. It's not supposed to be like the most well-crafted answer that you can think of. Like, it's just supposed to be like, okay, like what comes to your head? And so poor Maddie, they're like, no, just if that's what you want to say, like say that. Like if you don't have one, like you can say that. And so I knew how much she like hated this question. And so in the actual video, you'll see me like laugh.
Pickup lines, they don't really work for me.
Because I'm just like, this sucks. Like I'm like, this question sucks. And then they got to me and I was like, and first like some stroke of luck, like it just came into my head and I was like, all right, I don't like this one, but I was like, it's the only one that I can think of, and like I'm just gonna roll with it, and like it's gonna come out. So I did the pickup line that I did, and everyone gives theirs, and like the people at the end obviously had more time to think, but like if you're at the beginning, you don't have any, like they do not give you the questions beforehand. They do not give you a minute to think about it or talk it over. Like they do not give you like redos, like unless you mess something up and they need to redo it because like they didn't catch something you said, or you said something like that wasn't like family friendly, or like if there was some kind of technical reason why they needed you to say what you said again, that's the only chance that you're gonna get a redo at it, because they want it to be funny and they want it to be awkward and they want it to be like, oh, this girl messed up, ooh, like whoops. So like Maddie had literally no time to think. The only reason I had time to think was because Maddie was like asking if she could go later. Like if she hadn't like asked them that question, like I would have been like,
Got nothing. I got nothing, guys. I got nothing, baby. Nothing.
what do I got?
Nothing.
So we go through that whole one, and then it's time to like pick who gets out. And obviously there's like a lot of girls, like Stove doesn't know us all, and there's a lot of us obviously, and it's like hard to remember all those names. So what they were doing was that Rachel would come over and she'd have a clipboard and she'd put it against her chest, and it had the lineup of all the girls, like, and all their names. And then she'd be like, okay, like, do you know who you want to pick off? Like, just point to them. So you could kind of tell, like, where on the board, at least from, like, where I was sitting, because I was in front of him, or where I was standing, you could kind of tell, like, where on the clipboard he was pointing. My end, or, like, the other, like, the left end or something. So, like, I was like, that's definitely either me or Maddie that he's pointing to. And I was like, and she kind of gave a similar answer to other people. So I was like, I think it's me. Like, I was like, fuck, like, I'm going to get out on the first question. The same way how they do like the camera that zooms in on you like for your answers, whenever you're about to get out, they'll pan the camera to that girl, because once Stove would tell Rachel who he was gonna pick, she would show the clipboard to the camera guy and be like, this is the one, like this is where you should point the camera, and then he'd set up on them, and then they'd be like, okay, go, and then Stove would be like, so like this is the person that I'm picking, like Maddie. But so for that split second before he tells you, the camera's just facing you, and you don't know, like, is it facing me, is it facing Maddie, like is it facing Ariel, like who's it facing, like I don't know. But so in terms of like how it's staged, or how much like people know, or like we know what's gonna happen,
well, it's real,
we literally don't know. The only thing that we got told how to do was that we practice our intros, and like we got told like what answer we were going to order the questions in, what order we were going to answer the questions in, and then we got told like how to exit, and like how to exit so that you'd be in view of the camera. Like if you wanted to say anything to Carter, like where was the last spot on the carpet that you could say it at before you'd be out of view of the camera. So everything else was just us being like, oh, okay, and then being like, here's the question, go, like say your answer, and me being like, like more than once. And when I was doing my exit interview, they were like, was there any question like you thought you were gonna get out on? And I was like, yeah, like a lot of them actually. But I was like, yeah, like the fedora one and like the car one, like I thought I was gonna get out on. Those answers, like I think were like the two biggest ones that people kind of not really like ripped apart, because like nobody was really like mean about them, but people would be like, in the comments, people were like,
He said he didn't want a silly answer, and then she put a silly answer. Well, why'd she win? Her answers were so silly. Like, he said he didn't want silly. So, but she's so silly.
and just like kind of like freaking out because I said fedoras, which was a silly answer. But like when I was getting asked it, it was literally like, the camera's on me and he goes, if you were queen, like what would your one rule be? In my head, it was like as if like the wheel was turning and it was like, if I was queen for a day, my rule would be no fedoras. And that's what got churned out. And the literal thought process in my head was like, if I was queen for a day, okay, what's something that I don't like? What's something that I don't like? Should I say something real? Like, should I say something about climate change? Or should I say something about how we need a better foster care system? And no, one time I saw a guy cross the street and he was wearing a fedora and I didn't like it. Fedoras. And that...
No fedoras.
That's showbiz, baby. And so like, when I said that, Stove was like, okay. And like on the video card was like, okay.
Okay.
Cool, all right, sure.
Okay.
And then as I gave that one, they start going down the line and everybody else is giving like these very thoughtful answers that everybody has food or there's no murder or we all recycle and we take care of the earth. And I went,
And that's my cue to go.
and I was like, okay, I'm screwed. Like we're done. And I was like, okay, great. I like genuinely thought that that was when I was gonna get out. And then on the car one, like, you know when you get like an adrenaline rush and your whole body gets like that, like that wave of something and you're just like, oh, okay.
Sometimes I get nervous.
I'm in panic mode. I don't know anything about nice cars. I don't know what cars are cool. I drive a normal car, and for the majority of my adult life driving, I drove a beat up 2001 blue Ford Focus station wagon that had the side mirrors taped on with duct tape because I knocked them off into things and didn't want to pay to fix them. And so I taped them on and the car did not have AC and eventually that duct tape wore off. And you know what I did when my side mirror started dangling and smacking against my car door every time I drive on the highway? I let him hang. And I went, oh no, this is not the girl to ask about cars. This is not a question I can answer.
Next question.
And so then in my brain, as I was like repeating the question, I was just like, well, that car's sentimental, so I guess I'll get him a sentimental car. And that's like on that one, like you can hear me like flipping up my words and like slipping on things.
I'd say that I'd ask him what the most car.
It's because I was like, okay, like that's not bad, but I was like, but that's not what they asked. I know a lot of people were saying that it felt like the whole time that Stove was just like favoring me and I was his favorite and that was why he picked me and that clearly he was gonna pick me the whole time because like he just favored me and like my answers didn't make sense and I shouldn't have stayed. And even my own sister texted me and was like, yeah, your answers based on his interview, you really shouldn't have been the girl that stayed, but you were really funny, so I'm glad that you won. And I was like, thanks. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Love you. So like I know a lot of people felt like it just wasn't like the right call or like a fair call or whatever. But I felt like behind the scenes that there were a lot of girls that Stove had way more of like an actual personal connection with. Like him and Sabrina got along really well. Him and Ariel got along really well. Like him and Liz, like there was like this time when we had a break. You can see it in Carter's video. Like he says like, oh yeah, and we're taking like a quick like bathroom break. When he was outside the studio, it was just like me, Ariel, Liz, and Sabrina left at that point. So it was just all of us and Stove talking. And like, I felt like out of the four of us, I had like the worst connection with Stove, like one-on-one. And then like Sabrina even like agreed with me later. She was like, yeah, I kind of noticed like every time you'd say anything, he was just kind of like not feeling it. And I was like, yeah, I felt that way too. Not like the same way that like he was like clicking with you guys. Like they were saying to Stove, the other girls, they were like you are actually like picking people based on their answers. You actually have real reasons. Like in a lot of the episodes, people are just picking people based off like who they like the most. Like it was like I think all of our experience with it was so different, and it really did seem like he was just picking people based on like how they would fit for Carter. He himself was like, well, yeah, I'm not picking for me. I'm picking for Carter. So like I'm not gonna pick somebody just because like I click with them. Like that's not the point of this. Like it really did not seem like, I think if he was picking favorites, like I would not have been his personal favorite that he was picking. And then the last thing is that people have to repeat their exits. Multiple people had to do their exits more than once, just because either when you said goodbye, you were off camera. Like Kara had to do hers like 3 or 4 times. And what they would do would be like, okay, go back to your spot. And they'd be like,
okay, you've just been eliminated, now go.
Like, to try to get you like in the headspace of being like, oh, okay, like I just got eliminated. And then you'd be like,
okay, bye.
It was so awkward, and we were all friends, so we were just like, oh my gosh, like, are you really gonna make her like do this exit like again? There was just like a lot of stuff behind the scenes that like a lot of people didn't see, but none of it is staged.
It's real.
So clearly I'm in a different outfit because this is a different day. Because of the way that I'm editing things, it's ending on kind of a weird point. So I'm sorry for this like weird ending to this part of the vlog. I just didn't want to jump into the next kind of area of everything else that I would be talking about and make it an even weirder cut. This video, since you guys have just watched it, hopefully, is basically like a weird mix of like a story time and a behind the scenes look into everything, and it was super long, and I'm sorry, so thank you for watching all of it if you did. I hope it wasn't too rambly and too much random stuff that you guys didn't care about. If you guys want to see a video about what happened after I won and me meeting Carter and any kind of question like that, because I've been getting a lot of DMs and there's been a bazillion comments about that kind of stuff, so if that's what you guys would like to see a video on, then definitely let me know. I know the girls wanted to do like a react video, or if you want to see a video of me responding or reading the comments or the DMs that I've gotten or answering them. My roommate just told me that somebody commented on the YouTube video telling Carter to tell me to make a video. So that is, I guess, exactly what I'm doing. And if you guys want me to answer any questions just about anything in general, or if you just have general questions for me and want me to do a Q&A, then just pretty much anything you guys want to see in a future video, just let me know across some sort of social media. Subscribe to me here, turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified for any future videos. Follow me on Instagram at my handle below. I'm also going to put Carter's Instagram and his YouTube. You guys should go subscribe to him. And I'm going to put some of the girls down below too, because I love them and they were great and amazing. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah, you told me the other day